Royal Caribbean finally has a Quantum class ship sailing out of Los Angeles, and the West Coast is excited about it. Let me tell you all about this ship so that you can decide for yourself if this is a sailing that you want to try. I'm currently on board the Ovation of the Seas for a 3-day media preview event, just showcasing what the ship has to offer, sailing out of California for the first time, headed to Ensenada, Mexico. And y'all, there are some great things about this ship, and there are some other things about this ship too. I've been on board for a day and a half, and I want to tell you everything that stands out for me in the best ways and in the not so great ways. So let's talk about my first impressions. This is a Quantum class ship, and the only thing I really have to compare it to are Oasis and Icon class ships, because those are the only other Royal classes that I have been on. So this class of ship is a bit smaller than the Oasis and the Icon class ships, but it is still a comfortable size. I think it's a good size. It's a very intimate feel, a very classic ship design. Instead of thinking of the big, huge Royal Promenade that you get on some of the larger Royal Caribbean ships, think they actually call it a Royal Esplanade, and it has more of that older classic ship design with the glass elevators that go up the middle of the ship and the pretty, somewhat of an atrium, not really a big atrium, but think of that classic ship design. That's what this ship is giving. So that wow moment when you step on board is more of that classic wow of, oh my gosh, I'm on a ship. So the wow factor is not as huge for that walk on board as it is on some of Royal Caribbean's largest ships, but the wow factor comes in so many other ways, which we will get to in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you about my stateroom. I have a balcony cabin on deck 11, and I think that the cabin so far has been pretty good for us. I've enjoyed it. I've not had any issues with it. I love the balcony view. Always love a balcony view. And the only thing that I will say kind of stood out a little bit about this balcony cabin is you can tell that it is an older ship. So I'll put on the screen here when this ship was built and the last time it was refurbished, but you can tell from just, at first glance it has a very modern look, but when you go into like the bathroom per se or the balcony area, you can see around the floor like there's some rust spots, there's some things that it just needs a little bit of love and care, tender love and care. That's it. But it's nothing that would turn me off from the ship. It's just, again, if you look with your real good eye, you can see a little bit of what needs to be touched up. However, I do not get that feel outside of the room. Everywhere I go around the actual ship, outside of my cabin, I don't get an older feel. I don't get a need to be touched up feel. I don't get a need the TLC feel. Everything feels very modernized, very pretty, very well kept, very clean. I am loving the ship so far. And even with it being an older ship, my bathroom has a shower with a glass door, and I love that. Now let's talk about the dining. So far we have done lunch at the Windjammer a couple times now. We have done dinner at the main dining room and at Sorrento's, which is the pizza spot on board the ship. Sorrento's is the fleet-wide pizza spot for Royal Caribbean. So our impression of Windjammer buffet was pretty good. I wouldn't say it was the best buffet I've ever had at sea, but it was pretty good food. Everything tasted flavorful, seasoned, and fresh. No issues there. Today they had a special, and I'm not sure if this was because we're on a meteor sailing or if this is something that they do all the time, but they had a seafood buffet today. So they had some lobster and some crab and some shrimp and things like that on the buffet, which was nice. It's always nice to get a little bit of an elevated lunch. We also had pizza. Yesterday we did pizza for dinner, and Sorrento's is one of my favorite pizza spots at sea. I think it's very good pizza. I've had it many times and I enjoyed it this time just like I've enjoyed it all the other times. I also thought the Sorrento's on this ship felt a little bigger than the ones that I've seen on some of the other ships. Last but not least, we did try the main dining room today. So we went to the main dining room for dinner. Again, this was another special media sailing dinner. We actually had a menu that said Ovation preview event dinner menu. So there was a seafood option. There was a lobster tail. Usually you don't get a lobster tail on a 3-day sailing, but we did on this one. There was a lobster tail. I thought my appetizer, I had like a salsa for an appetizer. I'll show you a little bit of that, but I thought that it was okay. I had to touch it up a bit with some salt and some pepper, and I thought I could have used a little lime juice for it. I thought that it was okay. And my lobster tail was pretty good. And my dessert, I was way too full to even actually get to it. They did have a kids menu available as well. And one thing I will say about this ship, a lot of ships don't seem to have chicken strips on them, but they had them on this ship, and RJ enjoyed that. He has been enjoying those everywhere that we went on this ship. Before we move into the next section, let me just invite you to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us so much. Go ahead and subscribe. We would love to have you as part of the team. Now, let's talk ship features and public spaces, because I told you earlier we were going to get back to where that wow factor comes in. And this is where Ovation of the Seas gets the wow factor for me. The event spaces on board. First of all, the Seaplex. Love the Seaplex. It is an area where you can do basketball, you can do roller skating, but the big thing that stands out for me, bumper cars. They have actual bumper cars here at the Seaplex on board the ship. Those were so much fun. I did those and the good thing about it is that is a part of Royal Caribbean's included entertainment. So you can just go stand in line and get on the bumper cars as many times you want. There is no additional cost for it. You don't even have to sign up. You don't even have to sign up for a time slot. Go jump in line and get on the bumper cars. Roller skating, you do need a appointment for a reservation, but you do not have to pay for it. They also have Xboxes on board. They have a whole little section at the Seaplex area where they just have gaming stations set up everywhere. You need a reservation for that, but again, it is no charge. And let's see what else stands out. 270 is another venue that stands out. So 270 is an event venue on the very back of the ship where in the daytime they have all of the shades up and you get this 270-degree view of the water wherever you are. So if you're at port, you're seeing port. If you're at sea, you're seeing sea, and it is absolutely gorgeous. But in the evening, that event space turns into something that is just phenomenal, with some of the best electronic and with some of the most elevated entertainment that I have ever seen before. I'm just gonna read you what Royal Caribbean says it is because it's hard to explain. By night, the lights go down, the windows become screens, and the space comes alive with aerialists, robots, and much more. This is 270, a place that can take you any place. So 270 is a really dope event space. It's just something a little bit different from what you see on other ships. They have these screens that are like 14K and they have another set of screens that is just, they combine to create one big picture for you that's panoramic view, 270-degree view, right? So pretty dope event space. Hopefully you'll spend some more time there. I haven't seen a show there, but I did get to just step inside and see a little bit of how that event space operates, which was cool, kind of behind the scenes. Some other things that stand out: Ripcord by iFly. If you've ever done iFly on land, that is indoor skydiving. This ship actually has that on board. It is called Ripcord, so it's the Royal Caribbean version of iFly, and it is pretty much the same thing. It is the same chamber that you would see at an iFly on land, so you literally can get inside and do a simulated skydive, and it is so much fun. It looks amazing. My son got to do it today, but that is something that just really stands out because you just don't see it on any other ship or any other cruise line, I should say. Royal is kind of taking it for entertainment. They're doing pretty well with how they incorporate things that nobody else is doing onto their ships, and they definitely got that nailed on Quantum Class and specifically on Ovation. So I talked about things that really stood out or highlights for this cruise, but I gotta tell you about some that maybe don't stand out as much as I thought they would. One of them is North Star. So I did North Star on day one, and I gotta say, it just kind of felt a little meh. Like, I mean, it was a nice view, but we were in port, so I saw Los Angeles, we saw the port, all of that. But I don't know, it just, I expected a little bit more from it, especially for it to be a paid service. It is normally $40. We did not pay for it, but it is normally $40. Now, I'm hearing that the free version that we got on this sailing is not as elevated as the $40 version that a paying customer would get. We got kind of a mini version of what you normally get, so maybe that makes the difference. It also could make the difference being at sea or at port. I'm wondering how I would feel about it doing it at sea. I'm gonna find that out tomorrow. No, I'm not gonna find that out tomorrow because I'll be at Ensenada Port. I don't know. I do think, so one of the things, this ship is going to be going to Alaska. I do wonder what it would be like to be in the North Star on an Alaska sailing and get those Alaskan views from way up in the air. I think that would be kind of dope, but I guess I'll have to book an Alaska sailing to find that out. Let's talk about Embarkation a little bit, because when I got to the airport, we got free transfers from the airport to the cruise port. When I got to the airport to go and check in for my transfer, which I had scheduled for 2 o'clock, it was a little chaotic. There were a lot of people waiting for those transfers, and they really didn't have a good method of knowing who got there first, putting people in any kind of line or order or anything like that. It was kind of a free-for-all. I do not do well with free-for-all. I know I keep track. I came in after that person, but before that person. I be keeping track of that stuff mentally. And so when I see that the cruise line is not keeping track of that, then I know that I could now be placed behind somebody that came in after me, and I don't like it. So I was a little concerned about that initially, but they actually got a very large number of us onto buses very quickly. My time to get on a bus was 2 o'clock. I think we were already loaded up around 1:50 and on our way to the port. Port drive was pretty easy, and we were one of the first 100 people to actually board the ship. So while I had a bad first impression of how that I thought that was going to go, it actually worked out pretty well. We got on the ship very quickly. Security was fast. There was no holdups. There was really not, I don't even recall actually being in line other than maybe having those few people in front of me at security check-in, like where they actually take your carry-on bags through the x-ray machine. That's the only place I can remember there being an actual like formal line. Everything else was just walk right up, walk right in, get to moving. My favorite space on board, let's talk about it, because I really, really love, there is a covered pool, and I am a big fan of a covered pool. It is just like, you get to enjoy a space that feels sort of indoor, feels nice and warm, feels very comfortable, and no matter what the temperature is outside, it feels good. And that is good for this ship, because to be honest, cruising out of LA is not warm. It is not as warm as you would think it would be. A lot of times I cruise out of Miami, and it is hot. It's always hot when I cruise out of Miami. Cruising from LA is not the same. It actually is pretty chilly. It's been pretty cold on the ship, so it's nice that they have that nice indoor pool area where you can go get into a heated pool. And it has very similar vibes to the solarium, except that it is not adult only, which means I can enjoy that as a family space. I can go with my son and enjoy the space and not have to worry about him being somewhere where kids are not supposed to be. My favorite experience is definitely those bumper cars. That was just so much fun. I am a big kid at heart, so anytime I can do something that reminds me of my childhood, that just makes me feel good. And again, I think Royal Caribbean got that down pretty. Now, some things that I have not had the chance to really experience yet. I haven't been to a theater show yet. I have not spent much time on the pool deck yet, and I have not gotten to any of the like specialty dining, which I probably won't get to because most of that is invite only on this cruise. However, that is stuff that I really am looking forward to. That's stuff that I would love to experience, but I guess I'll just have to book another cruise to be able to do that. I do hope to get to some of the shows on this sailing, though. I have one more day on board, so hopefully I'll be able to make that happen. So to wrap this up, Ovation of the Seas so far has been a great ship for me. I love the size. I love that it has that intimate classic ship feel. That is something that I really enjoy out of a ship. I love when I can learn a ship quickly and I don't spend the entire time on board lost. That is how this ship is. I've learned it pretty quickly. I know where I'm going, and that feels good. So I want you to stay tuned because we have a lot of Ovation of the Seas content coming. I have many room tours. I did about 12 room tours today. So I have lots of them. You're going to see lots of footage of the different rooms that are available on this ship. You're also going to see a full tour, like spoken tour of my cabin that I'm staying in on the ship. Like I said, I did the North Star. I've done the bumper cars. I've tried a bunch of different food. I've done a lot on this ship. So you're going to get full vlogs, full experience of all of those things. But you got to subscribe and you got to hit your notification bell so that you don't miss any videos that we have coming. Drop your questions about Ovation of the Seas below. Drop your questions about Royal Caribbean below. I'd be happy to answer them for you. This ship is going to be sailing to Cabo San Lucas. It's going to be sailing to Ensenada. Its sister ship is going to be sailing to many other places that are in Mexico, Mazatlan and Cabo, and like there's just a lot of opportunity for you to be able to experience a Quantum class ship out of the West Coast now, and that is super exciting. So make sure you stay tuned. Let me know if you have any questions about the ship. If you are looking to book this ship or any other cruise on any cruise line, definitely reach out. Booking at teamreesetravels.com. We can help get you booked. We will be happy to do that. And until the next time, Team Reese all day.